All right, we're going to take a few minutes and talk about leading a choir. Just some basics, some things to put in front of you. We'll start this class period and we'll conclude some of these ideas next week. But on leading a choir, it's a lot of fun. Have you guys both been in my choir upstairs ever before? I like choir. I like singing in choir. And there was a man years ago who asked me, he goes, I don't like choir. Do you like choir? I'm like, I do. Yeah. And I thought, why don't you like choir? You have like one of the best bass voices I've ever heard. And he's like, I don't know. I just don't enjoy it at all. Well, pretty soon he was out of the church and unfaithful. And I'm not saying that you have to enjoy choir to be faithful to your family. But I think, just the enjoyment of worshiping and singing and being a part of that, I think that was an evidence of the direction his life was going. I didn't really see it at the time. But I have a few things here, just three main things. I won't get to, I'll finish them up next time, but assembling a choir, organizing a choir, and then leading a choir. So first of all, assembling a choir. What you're going to want to do first of all is what's the age group of the choir you're going to have, and what's their ability. That's going to make a big difference, isn't it? Is it a children's choir? And then I guess the question would be, is it going to involve church kids and non-church kids? I know for our Easter Sunday, we had kids of church families and we had kids that were off our buses that are not members. And they learned songs together for that choir. So are they going to be church kids or non-church kids? You're going to want a lot of your music to be one part. And if you remember from 2 Sundays ago, their songs were all one part. They sang the B-I-B-L-E, and there was no harmony. They kept it simple. And it was a blessing, though. All those kids singing out one part can be a tremendous blessing. So is it going to be a children's choir with church kids and non-church kids? I know one of my choirs is the high school choir, and that's all kids from the Christian school. So, and there is kind of a feeder program since I've had them for years and years. Now, church kids and non-church kids for that Easter, those kids you haven't had. Maybe they're brand new. You're not building on a skill that they've had before. But for high school, they've been singing ever since they're little. They've been doing chapel programs and singing in Sunday school and singing in church and singing here. So by the time they get to 7th grade and I have them, they can do a little bit of singing. And then I strategically, there's my word, I place them next to somebody that can help them grow in their ability to read choir music. So, or is it a college choir? You guys know this, that college choir, high school, I kind of know where they are in the program, in the feeder program. Okay? College, I don't know who's coming to college. You know, I might have somebody that comes to the college that's never sung before. They just got saved the year before they came to college. They haven't been around music. So I don't necessarily know who I'm getting for college choir. But I know some of the voices, because if they're here for sacred music, then I know they're going to be in choir. And so I do know some of the people that are going to be there because of their degree. They have to be there. But some of the voices I don't know. I know there's one voice in particular that she sings, and you can tell she's not with the other girls. And you kind of try to make sure when you line everybody up that she's got a good spot, not super near the microphone when you sing out here for choir. And again, I wouldn't trade it. I want her in there because she's enjoying it and loving it, and the fellowship's good for her. So you want to decide who your choir is going to be, and then also, how are you going to get more voices? How are you going to get more voices? Well, the college choir got smaller and smaller. I remember it used to be at 7:30 in the morning, and you can imagine why people didn't want to come to choir. And I didn't really want to show up at choir and try to sing at 7:30 in the morning. But now, of course, we meet on Thursday afternoons, and so I kind of, it's during drop ad period, I'll kind of, hey, bring a friend, get a friendship scholarship. I'll give you a Tootsie Roll. You get somebody to come to college choir, and we'll get, several years ago, they said, let's have the college ensemble should be in the college choir. And that has helped me out. Oh, if I know the whole ensemble is going to be in there, then the people that are singing for the school, they're in there as well. Then I know that I've got something to work with. And then the other people that would like to join, they're kind of joining something where there's already a success to the program. And it's fun to jump into something like that. You're going to get more out of it. But as far as even a church choir, for our church, I don't know if I shared this with you guys yet, but if you're going to sing if you're going to sing solos for our church, or if you're going to be in one of our groups, then you're going to be in the church choir or the church orchestra. That was something years ago they thought, we don't want somebody to think that they're so talented they don't sing with the rest of us, or whatever, So again, if you do special music, then you're in either the choir or the orchestra. Okay? So it's not like, I don't sing with the choir. That's for people without voices like mine. Or I don't play with the orchestra. That's for people whose sound isn't quite as amazing as mine is. So it's just one of those things. You're not set apart like that. So and then that's just one thing we've done here. So if you're in special music, you're going to be in choir or orchestra. And again, I mentioned this to you guys before, but you don't want to go around begging people to be part of it. You just say, hey, would you sing with our church choir? You as the director could go around and ask some people, or you could have some of your people try to recruit somebody. So assembling a choir, getting some people together. Then number 2, organizing a choir. Organizing a choir. First of all, maybe you have a group of people there. And right now with my ensemble, with college ensemble, I kind of know who's probably going to play. Probably one of the college ensemble piano players is going to play for the choir. But it used to be that you'd kind of like, does anyone play piano? You're there, you have no idea who's there. You're just like, does anyone play the piano? That'd be great. Does you do? Are you decent? Yeah, what I said. But with high school choir, I know I went through a spell where I didn't have a decent pianist. And boy, you can do a lot with a good pianist. The pianist really supports well. The choir's not scared to death to sing because there's a lot of support from the piano. And I know there was a spell where I didn't have anyone who played hardly at all. My last pianist had graduated, and I'm like, okay, you play. I'm like, why do I play? Because your sister was just the one that was playing for us. Well, and just because our last name is this, we all play the piano excellently. It's like, okay, well, you don't play? And so I had to recruit from outside the choir. I had to ask a college girl. I've asked college girls to play for the high school choir. I've asked staff ladies to play for the high school choir. And right now I'm blessed. The high school choir has some good piano players. So, and again, you don't want to just have the up-and-coming person. Yes, it's a blessing to that person to come along, and that might be all you have to do. But a piano player, I've been there where you're saying, can you play that part for the tenors? All right, tenors, listen as she plays this. You're like, okay, but not that note. Okay, and then I think it's an A flat. Yeah. Okay, tenor. I think you jumped to bass. Like, okay, tenors, just listen. I'm going to sing through this. Can you give me this note below middle C? And then you have to sing the whole thing. And you're like, try to forget what you just heard, because that's nothing like what you're supposed to sing. That is rough. And of course, I wouldn't embarrass a piano player like that. But if you're at that position, that's hard. If you can say, okay, play that part, and then it's just dead on, and you go, okay, tenors, and let's try that. Oh, it saves time. The tenors have confidence. They're jumping right into it. And then if she or he can play different parts together, oh, that's a tremendous benefit. So you want to figure out who is going to play. If somebody from the group can play, that's wonderful. You might have to recruit somebody from outside. And let's say with a high school choir, let's say you have a senior. You might consider not having her play for everything. You might want your junior. It's like, can you? And so upstairs in college choir, I'll say, okay, let's look at this song, and the pianist will change. I don't have one person that plays for all my college stuff. So they'll actually change piano players. And so you divide the load a little bit more, and you give more people experience. But you got a high school choir, and you got the senior who plays, and next year, well, get your junior to take a simpler piece and to work on it and get the experience of working with the choir director. So when she's a senior, she's ready, and then get your junior then, and maybe even your sophomore then, to get on there a little bit and play some, so that they're ready to go. You have your own feeder program for that. And obviously talk to the piano teacher. Here we have a piano teacher, and she knows what people can handle and kind of where they are with their skill and even their attitude toward their skill. Somebody might be awesome at the piano, but they don't have the right spirit about it. So it'd be good for them not to be the piano player. Okay? And sometimes you don't see that necessarily, but the piano teacher does see that. So if you're at a place where you can talk to the piano teacher, and maybe you're at a church and there's this lady who gives piano lessons, and you want to have a choir, a lot of times a church lady will play for like a church choir. But if you got to the point where one of the children could do it, you could talk to the piano teacher. Hey, who could handle this? And then it'd be fun for them to work on in their lesson. They can bring the choir song to their lesson and work on it with their piano teacher. And then the piano teacher can laugh with them about real world experiences. It's like, this is what I go through every week. It's pretty demanding, isn't it? It's like, wow, and I'm just going to do this every once in a while, and you do it every week, and kind of have some real life experiences. Also, then you want to divide into parts. Let's say you got a room full of people, and right now with college choir, everyone kind of, you walk in and they kind of, hey, you sing tenor or bass? I don't, they're like, I don't know what I sing. It's like, oh, bass, over here. And they kind of know where they're going to sit. But then you also have some altos that sing high and some sopranos that sing low. And you might look over and you think, wait a second, I have 15 altos and 2 sopranos. All right, altos, congratulations. Some of you just became second sopranos, which is not your. So all right, second sopranos. Who are you? Those of you that can't sing the real low alto stuff. But it is nice to have in the tenors. It's nice to have some low voice in the tenors. You don't want the tenor part to get so low that the tenors can't sing it. So baritones, the people that are in the middle, you'd like to have some in the tenor and some in the bass, because the bass starts to get a little bit higher and they don't like it, but then the baritone can help them out. Tenor gets lower and they don't like it, but then the baritone is there to help them out. The later's the same way. So you can say, congratulations, alto, some of you just became second sopranos. All right, come on, let's move over. And then you talk to me individually, and you can and say, now which, and if you have an older girl that you kind of trust in the alto section, you say, okay, you've sat next to some people, tell me who sings what. And she's really a soprano, she has a nice soprano voice, and the girl's like, okay, I'll go over there, and try to rely on your leaders in the different parts a little bit. And then the same thing with the men. It's like, okay, I've got 1 tenor and 12 basses. All right, I need some more tenors. And some people, a lot of times, are like, all right, I'll do it. And so you have your baritone, and like, well, I'm really more of a baritone. It's like, oh, good, I need some baritones in my tenor section. So you split everybody up and get them together. Let's see. So a lot of times, I know my college choir is pretty strong right now, but I went through a time where my men were pretty weak. And so I was doing a lot of 3-part music, SAB. And so my men, by weak, I mean that they weren't musically confident, not musically confident. And so I'd have the men in the middle, and they would sing 1 part, and so I'd have them all together, and a lot of your altos and sopranos, and had the men in the middle. Sometimes you can sing two-part music to even. You can have the women and the men, the women's part and the men's part. And by the way, sometimes I've been there where we work forever on this really difficult song, and then we sing it. And so I go to people, I'm like, "What'd you think? Wasn't that astounding?" They're like, "Yeah, it was all right." And you're like, "Do you know what that took?" Because it was difficult, and I had all these parts, and people never sang it super confidently. Then I've had pieces that were 2 or 3 part that the choir got down just like that. And they loved it, and they loved the message. The piano part was good. They sang out, and people came up to like, "That was lovely, just absolutely." And I'm like, "Oh, we didn't put as much work into that as." I want you guys to remember that sometimes simpler music is more of a blessing. You want to pull out some challenging stuff sometimes. I mean, you want to work at it, but don't always have music that's more difficult than the skill of your choir. Have music that matches their skill. Then have music that stretches their skill some. But don't be afraid. Don't say all of the music stretches their skill. No, have something that they can just sing out with. It'll be a blessing to them and to the congregation. So, and then of course SATB, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, is kind of what you're working toward down the road, and that's very nice to be able to have those 4 parts. Have the men be able to sing lower, the tenors, the other men to sing higher, the basses and tenors. That's kind of the joke up there too. It's like, now you asked for the men to jump in here, but the basses jumped in. Do you want the men to jump in too? No. We were having fun with that yesterday in choir. It's like, what? Okay. Then, as far as who's going to sit where, I know upstairs, the piano, we actually moved it toward the middle of the room. And it's nice just to have your melody nearest the piano, because the other parts kind of support the melody, and they're kind of built off the melody. So a lot of times you're sopranos. So upstairs, I have my soprano sitting closest to the piano, and I actually have the basses next. So I have my soprano and basses. I like my outer voices. Soprano's the highest, the basses are the lowest. I like my outer voices nearest the piano. Then I go tenor and alto. Then those inner voices, you have bass and then tenor, alto, soprano. The inner voices kind of build off the bookends. Usually bookends are like this, but I'm talking like the chordal bookends. The top and bottom of the chord, the inner voices kind of build off of that. So that's kind of what I do upstairs. Have my outer voices nearest the piano. And then have your vocal parts sit together, obviously. Have the basses all sit together. And I like to have depth. Meaning I like to have a couple rows. I like a back row to be singing across a front row. So I wouldn't necessarily like all right, let's have the tenors all in one big long row here. Let's have the basses, big one long row here. I want them together so that there's a layer, there's depth. They're singing through each other. The second row and the third row is singing through the second row is singing through the first. There's some depth there. They get more confident with their part that way. There is an experiment that I thought about doing someday, but I've never been able to get myself to do it because you don't have enough strong voices. But I've always thought it'd be fun to see what kind of a blend you could accomplish if you did soprano, alto, tenor, bass, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. You had all the parts mixed completely together. The problem would be that one person, or that's the several people that are scared. They're afraid to sing their part by themselves, and they're like, oh no, I'm surrounded by other parts, and I'm not confident in my part. But it would be fun to hear the blend of it. If you ever got a song confident enough to do that, seems like it'd be kind of fun for the blend. Okay, so we will pick up on this next time when we get back together. You're dismissed for now.